What is up, everybody? DanDanTheFireman here. We're going to be talking about this Harley rider that goes on a sidewalk, hits a bump, and then crashes into a telephone pole. We're going to talk about his mindset, the type of training he has, and if he's even confident in that type of training. Let's go ahead and jump into that. So now that we saw the incident, what we're going to do is an after action report. What an after action report is that we're going to go ahead and take what went right, what went wrong, and then use that information to prevent these accidents for ourselves. I'm going to be following a 3-step process. I'm going to be talking about the mindset. So what was the mindset of the rider at the time? Right here, this is going to be pretty obvious. It's going to be we're in a group ride showing off, but a lot of times it's not so obvious. So we're going to make a lot of assumptions in that area, but if that's something that you do, it's very good to understand. And then we're going to go on to training. So what type of training does it look like they have? Did they apply the brakes? Did they swerve? Did they counter steer? Did they use some form of body positioning? Whether it was good or bad, that's what we're going to be focusing on. Or if they didn't use any braking in an accident type of setting. Then we're going to go ahead and move on to competency. Now there's a competency with that training. It's one thing to know how to apply the brakes. It's one thing to actually apply the brakes appropriately. So if they did apply the brakes, did they apply it with progressive brake pressure? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Nice, good squeeze. Did they do that? Did they apply any countersteering? Did they see the hazard beforehand? Did they have a really good prediction, reaction, and then application of their brakes? What went right, what went wrong, and how we can use that information for ourselves. So we're going to go ahead and move on to this portion right here, just with this setting. What is the mindset of what's going on here? We have a group ride all over the place. We have a guy over in the turn lane. We have multiple people not staggered. And then if we move forward just a little bit, we have stunters. So we have this type of mindset when it comes to this group ride. It's not a safety mindset. It is an ego, show off, have fun, crazy, risky fun mindset. You can still have fun being safe. So that's what's happening here. Then this guy decided, I'm going to show him up, or I'm going to do something. So this is the mindset so far. So let's go ahead and keep moving forward. You definitely don't want to ride on a sidewalk, and we're going to find out exactly why, but definitely don't, because you're going to have big bumps, big everything. You're going to have a lot of debris, possible pedestrians, and there it is. There is the bump that caused it. So let's go ahead and go back just a little bit. This is what is pretty interesting here. So we have the rider with the camera looking this way, and then immediately catches something out of the corner of his eye. So this is something I want you guys to understand. Corner of his eye grabbed his attention, and that is typical when it comes to a hazard. The hazard will come out to the sides, grab your attention. That's good. Use your really good focus to look at that. But this isn't going to be a hazard for him. He's doing a search evaluate, and he's like, it's not a hazard for me. But now we're going to focus on the actual Harley rider. So he hit a bump right here. Now this is going to be part of the sidewalk. Typically with sidewalks, they're going to have massive bumps when it comes to on or off ramps. That's what I like to call them, where it's easy for, wheelchairs or wheeled vehicles or anything to kind of go up and down. But he hit something right here. And when it comes to the training aspect with obstacles, okay, here's the thing. You want to lift your butt up so that when it does lift that rear suspension, you hit the bump and it's going to lift that rear suspension really hard. If you lift your butt up and use your legs as some form of shock absorbers, it's not going to really knock you forward. Now, that's what's going to happen here, because he did not lift his butt up. He didn't raise himself up. He didn't use any type of shock absorbers in his legs. That is why he's going to be lifting up and flying off. So another good example of a bump in the road would be a speed bump, quite obviously. So if you're going through a speed bump or over a speed bump, you want to lift your butt up and practice that. Another thing is obvious obstacles that are not supposed to be there, like a 2x4 or just like an animal, even a small animal you can run over and still be fine if you do the proper lifting up your butt. So he doesn't do that here, and it's going to buck him forward. You see that real quick? See how he's almost flying off and up and over the handlebars? That is very dangerous and very risky, and there's a good chance that he's going to lose control, which is exactly what happens here. So his training wasn't the best when it came to maneuvering over an obstacle. Now, his mindset is what put him in that situation, so that is not good at all. So if you guys would like to talk more about mindset training and even competency and stuff like that, go over to the Discord. There's 2,100 members in the Discord, giant free chat room that I established a long time ago, and it's really awesome. So check it out. Link is going to be in the description. See if you like that. So anyways, he's going to go forward just a little bit, and I'm going to go ahead and play right here. And he's going to lose so much control that he's not going to be able to swerve in time away from this obstacle. And once again, sidewalks, lots of obstacles. You have newspaper bins, you have, you know, pedestrians, you have big poles, you have cables that go across that typically is not going to be a hazard for pedestrians walking on there. But if you're riding a motorcycle at a high rate of speed, definitely. These poles right here are very, very, very strong. So the amount of force that it took for him to go into it and break it is very high. He wasn't wearing any gear, so guess what? He's going to probably have some type of injuries. But is he competent when it comes to that training? I mean, it's obvious that he wasn't. He didn't do his lifting up his butt. He didn't do any of that stuff. He wasn't focused on safety, so he can't be competent in safety. This one is really an unknown. We can't really tell if he knew how to brake. We can't tell if he knew how to go over an obstacle because he wasn't paying attention to it. He wasn't focused on that. So when it comes to mindset, training, and competency, if your mind's not on safety, if your mind's not in the game, your training and everything else goes out the window. If you do not see the hazard, you're not going to avoid the hazard. You're not going to mitigate the hazard. You're not going to focus on how to get from point A to point B as safe as possible. In this situation, he's trying to get from point A to point B as fun as possible. And that is not what you're supposed to do. That is not how we're supposed to be riding. So if you guys were trying to focus on, you know, what he did wrong, what he did right, it's very obvious what he did wrong when it comes to crashing into a pole. But why did he do it wrong? Why did he not do it right? Why? And now you're going to start having problems when it comes to the law. You're going to have a bunch of different things here. So luckily, he's going to be able to walk away from this one when it comes to injury-wise. But when it comes to getting a ticket, causing destruction, you know, felony destruction, those things cost well over $1,000. So he's going to have a lot of problems on his hand. Is that worth it? I want you guys to ask that question to yourselves.
Controls, rear controls, forward controls could be a little bit harder, but raise that butt up. That's it. Because if you don't, that back end's going to hit that obstacle and it's going to whip you up like a horse and it could buck you off. So you really got to watch out for that. Okay, so let's do that again. That's it. And that's just a simple